Hello, Lisa, Papageorgiou, and Larry Zaykowski. Really glad to have you on today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're talking about One Talk today. So, Lisa, would you just give us, please, a general overview of what One Talk is?
Okay, great. So I wanted to start by saying that OneTalk is a mobile first business communication solution. So what that means is it's beyond just having a cell phone or a smartphone. It gives you all the features and functionalities of a traditional business communication solution. It's just delivered over the Verizon wireless network. What it's ideal for is if you look at small businesses today and if you look at how employees work today, are they frontline workers? Are they mobile workers? Do they work remotely? Are they hybrid, or primarily in the office? So basically, One Talk has been almost purpose built to address the workplace that we have today because you can use smartphones, you can use cell phones, desk phones, tablets. It really helps connect all of those those ways to access to be connected to your phone system through up to 8 different devices. So it's really ideal for today's workplace, and it gives you all the features and functionality that keep your employees productive and gives your customers the ability to reach you and to stay engaged. So that's really why it's more than just a cell phone. It's got the functionalities and the capabilities that businesses need today.
Could you give me an example of what some of these 8 devices might be?
So, for example, if I'm an employee and I'm going to be a frontline worker, so I'm out in the field all the time. So, if I'm only working on my cell phone, I'm separate from the company's main solution, right? Whereas if I have a One Talk enabled smartphone, that means I could, number one, if I'm calling somebody, my business number goes out, not my personal phone number. If the company has call routing so that if a customer calls and they need to reach me, calls could automatically route to me and my phone number, even though it's my smartphone. I can also be part of a hunt group. So, if I'm actually out there and I'm in the middle of fixing a pipe, or I'm in the middle of doing my job and I can't get to the phone, my coworkers who are also in that same hunt group could pick up that phone as well. So the idea is that customer calls can get picked up. They don't have to get a voicemail and I'll call you later when I have time. So it really has better call coverage. It's better call routing. If I'm out in the field and I need to connect to my coworker because I have a technical question, I could set up a video call right there, and show them my environment and get their help. So it's really about collaboration and connecting with customers, really from any work location.
Lisa, I want to ask you more about the main value propositions in just a moment, but you've already talked about the Hunt Group. And, I know from our partners that this generally tends to be one of the best selling points they can talk about, because I know that there is concern that if somebody is looking for a new business to help them, they're going to go to Google or Bing. They're going to look for the first result that comes back and they're going to call that person, that business. And if they go to typically that if it goes to voicemail, they just hang up and go to the next one down the list. Are you telling me that the Hunt Group is a way for these small businesses and enterprise customers to make sure it's a human being that answers the telephone to inbound calls?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if I'm an owner of a business and I'm out dealing with clients all the time, well, I can have my back office, either my secretary, it could be my partner, my wife, whatever. It could be whoever I have as backup. It could be other employees that are actually sitting in the office can be answering that phone while I'm out working.
So to add to that, we have something very unique where you can, with messaging, with SMS, text messaging, you can actually incorporate that into the Hunt Group too. So if somebody's sending you a message, it could get distributed out, in all the different, types of distribution to the rest of that Hunt Group, in addition to just the voice going through.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Larry, if you can also go to the dashboard, the administration's webpage for the solution within the business, and set up a hunt group specifically to receive SMS messages that are inbound as well.
Yeah, it could be one or both actually. So yeah, exactly. So let's say that you have a situation where you have customers sending texts that they are in the parking lot and they're saying, "I'm here. Can you bring my order out, please?" No phone calls needed. They just send a text to whatever number you specify, and you can have curbside service as one example, right? A lot of people like using text, especially different generations. Prefer using text to communicate. And it's very static. So you see it, you see it later, you can reply back to it, and so forth. But that can get distributed among the hunt group members also.
And so anyone in that hunt group could reply directly to that
That
SMS, and everyone
that's
else
right.
in that group would see both the inbound and the outbound reply.
Correct. Yeah, because we're tied to the mobile network. I mean, that's a key value of One Talk. Everything is built within our network. So not that communications don't go over the internet with VoIP, right? I mean, that you can set it up that way. But within our network, because it's wireless, a lot of the feature functionality with One Talk is very similar to what you would do with a mobile phone. And that's one example.
While we're on this topic, you mentioned VoIP just a moment ago, Larry. One of the concerns amongst our partners when we talk about VoIP is the fact that there can be a long latency, a long lag time as the call goes to a particular server and then it comes back through
That's right.
the wireless system from that server, and it's kind of like I think it's a bit like communicating from the television sports studio to the satellite to the
Mm-hmm.
sports field and back again, when responses seem to take a very long laggy time. Does that tend to is this a differentiator that our partners can talk about when they're pitching One Talk as opposed to VoIP
Absolutely.
solutions?
Yeah, so One Talk is VoIP, but it's also cellular driven, right? So as I mentioned a moment ago, it's built within our network. So within the LTE, it's an IP core, multimedia service
Mhm.
within Verizon Wireless. It's not going out to a cloud service. It's within the Verizon network, which doesn't mean that because somebody's using AT&T or T-Mobile or whoever else that the communications aren't happening the same way. They are. The difference is that when you're using a phone, a desk phone or a mobile phone, you can make sure that it's set up where it's going over the network channel and not going over the general internet like a lot of VoIP calls happen. Most VoIP calls, definitely in the SMB space, are going over the internet and not over private IP. So to your point, you have the cloud infrastructure, you have a packet driven type of communication, which
Yes,
not getting into the technical details. That's what happens, and you can have that latency or that chattering of calls. You're
yes,
not going
yes.
to get that when you drive the calls over the voice channel of a network or our data channel of the network. So it's a
Actually,
key
Larry,
differentiator, and it is called out in the sales presentations too.
So another point about that, another reason that these calls go, the system being delivered over the Verizon wireless network is that start to finish, this is a Verizon solution. So the hardware comes from Verizon. The network is, we own and manage that network. So we have all the security that's built into it. We provide the hardware, we provide the service, we provide the billing, we provide the support afterwards. So a lot of particularly VoIP solutions out there, one company is providing all the UCAS feature functionality and someone else is providing the internet connection. So what happens when something goes wrong? Or you get a new firmware or your router has an issue or the network goes down and you've got companies pointing at each other. It's them. No, it's not.
mm,
With Verizon, we are responsible for the entire service from the beginning to the end.
and that's got to be a very good value proposition for our partners to pitch.
Yeah,
One face, one contact point, if you
yeah,
like. Somebody in one of my other videos just last week talked about one throat to choke, which I'd
right.
never heard before. But that's a nice little segue for me, Lisa. When
Mhm.
it comes to that first conversation, where I know that our partners are meeting with an existing customer or perhaps a new prospect, and they only have time to pitch maybe 5 to 10 solutions during a relatively short conversation. What are the best value propositions for One Talk that our partners should lead with?
Well, I always, my problem is when I believe when you're talking to a customer, you have to start by understanding what their needs are. So you're going
Hmm.
to start and you're going to ask them, well, how do your employees communicate today? What challenges do they have? Because you're going to find out that, hey, if they're out of the office, they're disconnected, or customers can't reach them. So when you're finding out how their employees work, how they communicate, and what challenges they have, that immediately ties you. And, that's an immediate, hey, One Talk is built for this. And, so we talked about the feature functionality earlier that make it worthwhile for customers, but the way that we do it different from our competition is really like we talked about. It's about the network. It's a native dialing experience. So if you're on your cell phone and you're used to hitting that green phone icon to make your phone call, you can do that today. It's easy, it's flexible, it's simple. But behind that green button, you've got 50 more, features and functionality that allow you to be connected. So I think that those are some big points. Another thing that we like to bring up that differentiates us from the competition and stays with the mobile theme is for the last few years now, we've been the only provider out there that provides a wireless desk phone. So we have a 4G LTE desk phone. So what that means is even for your office employees, you don't have to put wires. You don't have to worry about your router. I'm getting a firm update. Hopefully that won't knock my voice communications down. Or, I'm running all these apps and now my bandwidth has slowed everything down. So really it's about mobility, mobile workers, mobile network, mobile capabilities. And I think we have one of the strongest stories out there. If that's really what customers are looking for. So getting to understand customers, employee behavior, their mobility needs is a perfect segue into the One Talk features and functionality.
So, Lisa, I know that One Talk's been out there now for almost 8 years, and it's had quite a lot of success selling to smaller businesses or small SMBs and smaller enterprises. Could you give us some examples, please, of the kinds of businesses that have leapt upon this and have been using One Talk for this time?
Yeah, so the great thing about One Talk is it's really a good fit pretty much for every vertical that's out there. Every small business, especially if you have mobile workers, if you have frontline workers, that's really a fit that goes across all the verticals. But some specific areas where we shine, think of like construction companies. Where are you? You're out at a job site. And there's no infrastructure there. It's not like I'm going to go into the building on the construction site and answer my wired phone solution. It's you're in transit, you're out in the open. You often need to collaborate with your coworkers. You need to understand where your suppliers are. And there's a lot of people you need to interact with, and you're out of the office. So that's a perfect example. Distribution, same thing. Anybody who's in a vehicle and using tablets, your tablet could be connected and it could be your phone device. So if you're making shipments and dropping off and you need to coordinate with others, it's great. As well as, take a look at the service industry, plumbers, professional services. If you look at the hotel, the hospitality industry, the common thread is frontline mobile, you know, a good example for supermarkets is for curbside pickup, as an example that Larry brought up earlier. Your customers are out in the parking lot and they need to reach you. And if you had a mobile solution, you can go back and forth and stay in communication with them. So I know, Larry, if you thought of any other ones to add to it.
So many. I mean, you nailed quite a few excellent ones, and and those examples kind of transfer to other types of industries, as you mentioned. One other way to look at with One Talk, you have an option where, let's say, you have seasonal employees, or you have highly transient force, and a lot of BYOD, whatever type of of phone and whatever carrier that your employees are using, and you want them to be utilizing a business line. So you, with OneTalk, you can provide them via either an app or a second line on the device that is a business phone. It's your business entity too. So when a customer calls, they're not just calling, some employee's personal line. And when an employee calls out, it's going out from
Hmm.
the business
Hmm.
number. And you can also have that business name being sent out to the customer too. With the ID. So it allows a lot more flexibility for the business to run their communications properly, be able to move those lines as needed to other employees as they transition out or as seasons change or whatever it may be. One thing I always say is that with OneTalk, don't just think of Verizon Wireless and mobile. It is a business communication system. It's just focused on mobile because that's who we are, and that's where the world is too. So
And that's
if
the
any
preferred technology, right?
exactly,
Right?
exactly, and as Lisa said, we are the only provider in the United States that has a mobile, or not mobile, but a cellular desk phone. We have two of them actually, and we developed these things along with Yealink. They're
Hmm.
exclusive to us, and you can just put them on the desk anywhere, plug it in with the AC, plug it in, not Ethernet and
No,
connecting to a
no.
Wi-Fi or anything like that. And you have a phone that is going to work. So as Lisa mentioned, in construction, any type of retail, any type of and those aren't necessarily mobile, right? I mean, it's just put them there and go. And the good thing about it also is that there's not a lot of infrastructure issues, right? So you're not wiring anything. You're not worrying about removing panels and ceilings or going through walls, whatever it may be. So it decreases the complexity of having to deploy the solution. Multi
Yes.
location businesses, right? Yeah, we're focused on small business, but there are many big companies and medium sized companies as well as small companies that have multiple locations. Think about retail. Think about car rental. Think about labs. All these companies have multiple small locations with a few devices, and some are desk phones, some may be mobile phones,
Yes.
smartphones. There's another example, but it's really any type of business that is utilizing either voice messaging or other types of collaboration, and bringing it together with smartphones and desk phones and computers and tablets and any option that an end user wants. So we make it very simple.
So, Larry, can you go into a little bit more depth about, let's say that this particular small business has got three locations. How would we make One Talk work with the one, for example, corporate inbound number, the 1-800 number, for example?
Well, you could treat something like that, an entity like that, as just one business. It really doesn't matter where they are, and that's how OneTalk is designed, especially the mobility side of it. And that
Hmm.
mobility doesn't mean just a smartphone, right? It could mean a PC at different locations. We talked about different types of desk phones. We have the cellular desk phones, but we
Yes.
have the regular, VoIP. Plug it into an Ethernet, RJ45 connector is everybody's familiar with, or Wi-Fi to a router. Any of those options are available. So what you're able to do is manage everything from one location with each of the different instances of your business. It makes it very, very easy. You could do it from, of course, an app on a phone, or you can do it from a web interface.
And another thing to add to that is that One Talk is a service that covers the entire United States. So a lot of businesses that we talk to, you might have three or four locations. They might be across three or four different carriers, right? So they have different plans, they have different pricing, they have different, getting a line connected in one location and it might have been on a promo 3 years ago, and now you're paying for, service there. So when you think about it with One Talk, you have one price, one number, one solution that covers you everywhere in the country. So you're not having to deal with you don't need aggregators to bring all your lines together and stuff like that. So it could be very cost effective when you've got multiple locations, especially when they're with different carriers.
Let's just imagine a worst case scenario where the SMB has got so few personnel staff members that the Hunt Group has tried to call this group of people and no one has answered. And the customer is probably ready to give up. Yeah,
Or
let's say the question has been asked by the AI receptionist.
Mhm.
Would you like to be put through to customer service, to IT, to sales? And so it goes to the IT group, but ultimately no one answers because the three people, for example, in the hunt group are just happen to be very busy in that moment.
Mhm.
Could we have an outgoing recorded message at the point that's specific to that hunt group?
Yeah, I think that gets to some of the features we talked about yesterday, Larry, with
Yeah.
different ways to have messaging on hold. So
Mhm.
if you can provide a pre-recorded message that everyone would hear, you could have, if you actually answer a call and put them on hold, you can have other messages that they hear. So there are multiple ways using the features and functionalities within OneTalk to be able to give them pertinent information to help that hold be less painful.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lisa. So having that message on hold while they're waiting, and then once it gets transferred, let's say they get pushed into a voicemail, which is going to happen on occasion. You have the ability to have something recorded on that voicemail, so more information, whatever you choose as you want to do for your business.
Sounds good. Larry, when we first started talking a few moments ago, you mentioned being able to have video conversations within the business between staff members. Could you go into more detail on that, please?
So with One Talk, you can have one-to-one video, with your customers, but video, it's not designed for group collaboration with video.
Right?
That's not the way One Talk was designed.
Perfect example of that is I might be out at a customer location and I need to get some technical support from someone back in my office. I could just make a video call to that person. I could show them the environment I'm in and I can get on the spot. I can have them, give me the advice of what it is I need to do. So I can get their expert opinion via video.
I love that example. And I was thinking of a situation I had at my old house in Texas where there was a pinhole leak in the pipe that brought the mains water into the house. And it was one of these jobs that I could have done myself for $50. But because in due course I was going to sell the house, I wanted to certified work, so I paid $700. But to a proper plumbing company, but it was the apprentice who turned up. And I remember the poor apprentice spending a long time on the traditional cell phone asking for instructions. It would have been so easy for him with one talk simply to turn on his camera and show the master plumber what he was looking at and receive instructions in that way. It would have saved them so much time, as it were. So this seems like an ideal solution with a tradesperson to have one talk.
Yeah, from a one-to-one perspective, absolutely. One thing we have found, especially with the type of specific channels that we sell into, the type of markets we sell into, if you need or want video for your business, you typically are going to go to whatever type of video or specialized video that's for. Like, for example, there are video providers that specialize in what you just mentioned. So those who have a like technical support, or an in field type of support video infrastructure. There's some applications out there that, like, for example, in the HVAC business, there are actually providers that sell solutions specific to that. They're not in the voice business; it's just for collaboration at that level. And what we found were a lot of the customers out there that we were going after really weren't using any video that we had. They were using what they already have, and then they use us for the audio, the voice, as well as the messaging side of it.
So, Lisa, some of our partners have told us of end users saying that Yealink appears in a lot of advertisements, and Yealink is one of the larger manufacturers of desk phones, and certainly Wi-Fi or wireless desk phones across the world. And we've seen that their desk phones used in other people's solutions. How specifically are Yealink phones leveraged for use with OneTalk?
So we do at Verizon, we do not use the standard configuration for Yealing phones. They're a vendor that built a phone for us that we've customized. So we have the configurations, we have custom firmware, we do all the control. So we've been able to reduce all the security risk. Our devices don't have access to Yealink's device management platform. So these are, they're simply the vendor that built the custom phone for Verizon's One Talk solution. So that's an important factor. And as evidenced by that, we've had the 4G wireless Yealink phone for the past 2 years before anyone else in the market has been able to have it. So they are coming out with a new version shortly for other providers, but ours has been there. We know what we've helped them develop it, and we've had experience with it. It's become one of our top selling brands, or our
Mm,
top selling models of phones, is our wireless desk phone.
thank you. Larry, I wanted to come back to you and just talk for a moment about the latency issue and how using Verizon's network is usually superior to more traditional VoIP solutions. Now, our partners have seen several references to Verizon Wireless doing processing at the edge of the network. Is doing the processing further out from the core of the network, if you like, what reduces the latency on one talk compared to traditional VoIP?
It does, but that's just an in general type of advancement with our network, moving closer to the edge, so that you don't have that latency due to distance, right? Even though you're
Right.
going over wireless or fiber, there's still latency. I mean,
Yes.
it's not the same as it would be on a copper line, of course. But the real difference is that it's built within our network. So when you initiate a call or calls coming in to your device, it's coming in through a controlled channel within Verizon Wireless. So it could be coming from another provider. That's okay, but it's not going over the internet in the same way that a general VoIP call goes.
Mm.
And that's where you get into the latency, the chatter, and the typical things that we see, even with video, where things chop up and so forth. You're not going to get that. You're going to get a more clear communication because it's over something that we actually have control of, right? Control in a good way, so that we're
Yes.
able to provide that level of service where the call's going over specific grade of communications, and it's not just being shot out via the internet and then winding up at the endpoint or coming to you the other direction. And we can do that with the LTE desk phones that Lisa mentioned, of course, with a cellular phone. And then we have our mobile app, which can run on partner phones, not partner phones, but other competitor phones, and
Yes.
from other carriers. And that call, the typical app from most companies, most of our competitors, is actually going to be a regular VoIP call going out over the internet. Ours, you can actually route through the voice channel within the wireless infrastructure, so it acts just like a regular cellular voice call.
And I think the other thing to point out as well is that, you can have your VoIP network, that endpoint could be right next to you, but if you're running all these different business applications over that network and you don't have enough bandwidth to support your voice, that's going to impact your call quality as well. But again, with One Talk, you're not, if you're using your cellular device, or if you're using a cellular desk phone, you're completely separate from your data network, and you're not competing with your other applications for bandwidth. So that in itself could have a very big impact on your call quality.
So, Larry, I understand that one of the great benefits of One Talk is the customer support.
That's right. So with Verizon, you're working with our partners, but their partners are also working with us and have a very close relationship with us. But we have every layer of support for the entire solution. So we're providing support on the phones, both types of phones. We're providing support on the applications. We're working with our partners on all of that. In addition, we also have simulators for all the different endpoints for the solution, including the management interface too. So the admin portal, for the admin portal, you can actually go out to the simulators that we have available and walk through every aspect of the One Talk admin portal and see how actually easy it is, how intuitive it is to set up your customer, or the customer to set themselves up, and more importantly, manage and maintain the situation as they go forward. For example, what if they want to just change a voicemail, or they want to change a message on hold, or they want to change the number for somebody, or the name for that
Update a
number,
hunt
or
group, or yeah.
hunt groups. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Once you implement, there are many things that you may want your customer to do themselves, and then things that they might want to do themselves versus what you may want to do and manage and maintain for the customer.
Thank you both very much. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So, Lisa, I wonder, now that our partners have had an opportunity to mull over some of these questions you've answered for us just now, could you go over again what you believe would be the best value props? What should we pitch first when we're talking for the first time with say, an existing customer?
So I think you go to that existing customer. Our base customers are far more likely, if they're an existing Verizon Wireless customer, they're far more willing to make that jump into One Talk. We have a pretty strong, you know, correlation between our One Talk customers and our Verizon customers.
Hmm.
So go to your existing customers, ask about how do their employees communicate today, and find out what their challenges are, because they're likely to be mobile, they're likely to be hybrid, they're likely to, they want that seamless communications, they want that high quality HD voice, and they want to be able to work from any location. And we're designed specifically to do that better than most other unified communications solutions. And because of all we talked about with the network enables us to do that better than most of our competitors.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Lisa, Papageorgiou, and Larry Zaykowski, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.